the next speaker is Taha Zeinali. Taha is an Iranian campaigner and researcher based in Kassel in Germany. His interests include the political economy of contemporary imperialism, sanctions regimes, and the possibility of an alternative integration of Iran's economy into the world market. So absolutely bang on in terms of what we are talking about today. So please go ahead, Taha.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Radhika. I want to thank you and Michael and the Manifesto Group for organizing this event, and thank Bahman for inviting me. Following Bahman's important opening remark, which included contextualization, but also like a general overview and very important questions, I would build a bit upon the contextualization in order to discuss kind of a brief comparison between Rouhani and Raisi administration concerning their orientations in neoliberal economics. As Bahman already mentioned, Iran after the revolution confronted US imperialist aggression to be contained, which was started by that imposed war, but that was not only that was not the only case. So we have seen changing long-standing strategies by US imperialism to contain Iran. After the war between Iraq and Iran, and at the death of Imam Khomeini, which was also at the time of the collapse of Soviet Union and the so-called unipolar moment, a specific faction of political elites in Iranian state took power, led by Hashemi Rafsanjani. So as Bahman already elaborated on that, from that moment, we have seen a certain, a massive amount of neoliberal policies that has been continued until right now. So during the Rafsanjani, they believed that idea of there is no alternative to neoliberal or like free market economy and integrating to the US-led world order. So they started implementing preemptively structural adjustment policies, even without any foreseeable possibility for achieving financial means by IMF, World Bank, or other international institutions. So in that moment, so obviously that went hand in hand with a soft foreign policy. Iran even in that specific moment of war on terror, cooperated with the US and the coalition forces concerning security and information in invading Afghanistan. However, after that, the response by the Bush administration was that including Iran in axis of evil. So that moment should have been a moment that those illusions must have been disappeared. But that was not the case. Of course, the revolution had path dependencies. Despite this radical restructuring of economies, there have been the continuation of the specific social and economic policies that have been there since revolution and during the war economy, in the 80s. And there have been a certain faction inside the state who has been supporting, resisting US imperialist intervention in the region. So Iran started intensifying mobilization, supporting and founding and training of resistance forces in the region, which one could say that led to the failure of, contribute to the failure of US agenda for remaking Middle East, and also US decline of US hegemony. While the tensions and conflicts between Iran and the US imperialism has been intensified since then, so that integration to the world economy, to the US centered world economy, has not been at reach the implementation of neoliberal policies have been followed by all other administrations, more or less. So what we have seen, I want to jump like a bit, move quicker towards this like a specific moment of Rouhani era. So we have had experienced that political unrest in 2009, which intensively destabilized Iran's domestic politics and provided the possibility for Obama's administration's intensification of aggression against Iran. So in that moment, a specific part of the so-called reformist faction took power, led by Rouhani. Rouhani and his counterparts had certain agenda for economic development in Iran. So in their perspective, the economic recession and hardship was caused by government intervention and exclusion from the world capitalist markets. So from this perspective, the economic problems could not be solved without lifting the sanctions. So for them, negotiations with the US and lifting the sanctions was the only solution for economic development or dealing with the economic hardships. So this would obviously require a nuclear deal and concessions to the US-led coalition, and which has, their agenda achieved a hegemony among all parts of the Iranian elites. So they were this idea was the dominant idea. Therefore, they took the power. So they, as Rouhani himself, wrote in his book. So he saw a correlation between economic development and political stability. So meaning maintaining dialogue with the outside world, which means the US, and the neoliberal economics. So I want to argue that there was a cohesion between international or foreign policy and international trade policies and the domestic economic policies during Rouhani eras. So we have seen a soft foreign policy during the Rouhani era led to the JCPOA, and even after that, with the hope of revival of the JCPOA, and the revival of the massive implementation of neoliberal policies, kind of preparation of Iran's economy for a post-JCPOA or post-sanctions era. So I would argue that these kind of economic policies concerning domestic economy has not only contributed to resilience economy concerning sanctions, but also exacerbated the impact of sanctions. One could even think about this, that whether this was intentional. I want to give you one example. So one of the main impact of economic sanctions is the currency destruction, or a national currency intensive depreciation, which would lead to financial instability and hyperinflation. So what Rouhani did, for them, the market for the hard currency or foreign exchange currency must be left to the market mechanism. So what they have done, facing with the Trump's unilateral withdrawal from the JCPOA, they started to inject massive amount of hard currencies accumulated during the Ahmadinejad to the to the exchange market. So Iranian hard currency reserve have been pumped to the so-called exchange currency market in the Iranian society, which led to the exacerbated the depreciation of the currency and contributed to the inflation that was existed even before that. So there are some discussions of some economic consultants of the Rouhani that they have been arguing for for this policy, and their argument was that with this, we are making Iran's economy competitive when the sanctions are lifted, because then this would mean that like Iran's businesses, meaning like because of the squeezing the wages, Iran would be competitive. So after the sanctions lifted, so we could have this economic development. So they had this illusion, even after the withdrawal of the Trump's administration from JCPOA, that we need to continue the same path in order to prepare the economy for the economic development, as they could have imagined. So since there's not much space to elaborate on the aspects of the neoliberal economic policies that implemented during Rouhani, I want to mention a few important aspects of it. So one of the main part of the neoliberal economics or neoclassical thinkers, which was also at the center of the Washington Consensus, was getting the prices right. So this idea sparked the fact that the inflation is the most important problem between the Iranian people. This idea has been there since Rafsanjani. So they have done everything to eliminate state's administrative tool to control prices. Most importantly, this included eliminating the subsidies for the basic goods and for the means of subsistence, and the subsidies for energy and gasoline prices. And this has happened during Rouhani era in a sudden move to cut massively the subsidies for the gasoline prices, which led to the 2018 uprising. Also, there was this idea of cutting subsidies of means of subsistence, which was imported, basically the food. However, because of the security concerns, they have not eliminated the subsidies directly. Instead, they eliminated the subsidies, and then they provided a subsidized and cheaper foreign currency to the importers of the basic goods, in particular the foods, which actually did not help with mitigating the inflation as the impact of cuts of subsidies. So we had another uprising after this implementation of this economic policy, and during the Rouhani era, as Bahman already mentioned, we have seen the significant growth of commercial banks and their activity in non-banking business, including speculation. And Rouhani administration openly and actively promoted the speculative activities, not only for the enterprises, but also for the people. So we have seen a subordinate form of financialization during the Rouhani era that has kind of canalized the limited amount of financial national resources towards speculation instead of the production sectors. And so I don't have so much time to continue. Maybe in discussion we could come back to that. But what is more important, or what is important, so there was a cohesion between Rouhani's domestic economic policies and international or foreign relations. At the end, while it was clear that because of that post-withdrawal, and the Biden even didn't revive or didn't show the will to revive the JCPOA, so Rouhani's administration was bankrupted. However, they kind of they blamed the Iranian regional anti-imperialist interventions for that failure. So after Rouhani, the demands for justice was spoken in a way that was not before. Even during the campaigns, during for the presidential election, all the candidates were talking about the class gap, class inequality, and the demand for the justice. That was not the case before. So one could see that how difficult is the conditions for the ordinary people to to have the basic means of subsistence. And so Raisi in this period came to the power. He took the administration, and with this perspective that sanctions are to be there. So we require a resistant economy or resilience economy. So one would expect a sort of delinking or departing from neoliberal path in Raisi administration era. Concerning foreign policy, international trade, diplomatic relations, I would argue that Raisi has done his part towards an alternative integration of Iran's economy to the world market. While on the one hand, the intensification of the dynamics towards the multipolar world has provided a space, policy space for Iran, and is providing this policy space. And Iran's also active involvement in this has contributed in this dynamics towards multipolarity. So one could see that Parisa, my comrade, would elaborate on this aspect, and she will discuss this international dimension more. So I'm not talking about this more, but I just want to say that so there was this departing or delinking from the Rouhani concerning the foreign policy, international economics, international trade. However, concerning the domestic economic policy, there was more continuation than breaks. While there was indeed some breaks, but there was not there was much less than what was promised and expected. So, for instance, one of the most important continuing policies during Raisi era was eliminating the subsidized hard currency for the importers of the basic goods, which was implemented during Rouhani era. So this was eliminated during Raisi, which contributed massively in hyperinflation during Raisi era, despite the fact that there was at least a tiny faction inside the Raisi administration that they were doing their best opposing this and already explaining the consequences of this neoliberal policy, eliminating that subsidy, which was justified with the argument for this, because these these currencies are being mostly directed towards a specific clients, interstates benefiting from this rent, which are corrupted and not contributing to contain the prices of the goods. So the corruption was there. There has been certain factions of the capitalist class, not necessarily pro-West reformists, also including those who are maybe giving lip service to resistance economy, but they're beneficiary, or they're sharing this benefits. But at the end of the day, this was the working class and impoverished that was experiencing the devastating consequences of that inflation due to that policy. I don't have so much time, but I just want to mention this, that since last year, there has been some changes inside the Raisi administration, which can give some hope. But this I would leave to the discussion to come back to this, how optimistic we could be. But we have seen a tiny faction in the Raisi administration who were there since the beginning, like openly arguing for a necessity of an anti-neoliberal economic reorientation in state. And now they are like being a bit more influential. For instance, the head of the central bank, the new head of the central bank, which is a key institution concerning financial stability and instability, is openly anti-neoliberal, and he's someone who's who has contributed a lot in like criticizing neoclassical economics. And since he's there, he implemented a specific like monetary and currency policies to stabilize the currency prices against the idea of like liberating exchange rates like prices and leaving it to the market mechanism. While these tiny factions are not powerful, and there's a very strong resistance against them, and one could hope that they could achieve more like positions or like be more influential like towards like reorienting Iranian domestic policies. I think I don't have, I'm sorry. You're
If you
muted.
could wrap up soon.
Okay, thank you. So as I said, I hope in discussion we could come back to that, but I just want to say that Raisi's administration, the question is whether this situation can be sustained. What situation? The idea behind the maximum pressure campaign, which is part of a broader hybrid war against Iran, is to destabilize Iran as to destabilize the whole region we have seen in the last decades. So the idea is that, first of all, because of the economic hardship, Iranian state could be like, could change its behavior, which was not achieved until now. But the indirect consequence of the, or maybe more direct consequence of the sanctions are putting more pressures on Iranian people, majority of Iranian people, specifically working class and impoverished and subordinated classes, and making them or provoking them for a rebellion, which would destabilize the Iranian domestic policies and undermining Iranian leverage, and hopefully, from their perspective, while together with all kinds of sabotage, terror, assassination, and all kinds of intervention, hopefully leading like a further destabilization in Iran. While this was not the case until now, this is possible because Iranian people, majority of people, are living under a very hard condition. And one thing that is very important, they see inequality, they see injustices, a specific class, specifically in Iranian capital, in Tehran, one could see in the street. There is a tiny part of this population benefiting from the sanctions, benefiting from the corporation profit, from the inflation, from the asset price inflation, and they have super luxury conditions for life, and the majority who are suffering to even maintain a required calorie or protein for daily life, and for minimum housing or social welfare. So, and one could add to that there is this political will of oppositions utilizing imperialist media and specific anti-regime politics that Bahman also talked about, who are there to instrumentalize and weaponize such a revolt. So this is a necessity that the Raisi administration, even if they don't believe in a justice-oriented economy, for the security and stability, they have start or they have like reorient the economic policies that were there for long.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.